Alex Martinez sat alone at lunch, picking at his sandwich while flipping through his physics textbook. Most students at Westlake High avoided the science building during lunch, making it perfect for someone who preferred quiet to the chaos of the cafeteria. The door creaked open. Alex glanced up, annoyed at the interruption. A boy with pale skin and perfectly combed black hair stood in the doorway. He wore clothes that seemed brand new, jeans without a single wrinkle and a button-up shirt that looked like it had never been worn before. "Is this room occupied for nutritional consumption?" the boy asked, his voice oddly formal. Alex shrugged. "Just me. You can sit if you want." The boy nodded stiffly and walked to a desk 3 spaces away from Alex. His movements were precise, almost mechanical. He sat down and placed his lunch tray on the desk with careful precision. "You're new, right?" Alex asked. "Affirmative. I am recently transferred from—" The boy paused. "Overseas. I am called Zivix." "Zivix? That's an unusual name." "It is. A family name. From my region." Alex noticed that Zivix didn't blink. Not once during their entire conversation. His eyes remained fixed, occasionally darting to observe something, then locking into position again. "I'm Alex. Welcome to Westlake, I guess." Zivix nodded. "Gratitude for your welcome, Alex." He looked down at his food tray, but made no move to eat. The bell rang, signaling the end of lunch. Zivix stood immediately at the first sound. "What class do you have next?" Alex asked, packing his book away. "Chemistry with Instructor Kent." "Same. I can show you where it is." They walked together to chemistry class. Alex noticed more strange things about Zivix. He stayed exactly 2 steps behind Alex at all times. When they passed the water fountain, Zivix made a wide detour around it. Most strangely, he maintained the same blank expression, no matter who they passed. In chemistry, Mr. Kent paired them as lab partners for the semester. "Today we're doing a simple pH test," Mr. Kent explained. "Nothing dangerous, just testing household solutions." They set up their station, with Alex handling most of the work, while Zivix watched with intense focus. "Have you done chemistry labs before?" Alex asked. "I have studied the standard procedures," Zivix replied. Alex demonstrated how to use the pipette to transfer the solution. "Here, you try." As Zivix reached for the pipette, his sleeve caught the beaker of blue solution. It tipped over, splashing onto Zivix's hand. And then something impossible happened. Zivix froze. Not like someone startled or surprised. He literally stopped moving completely. His eyes fixed forward, hand still outstretched, not a single muscle twitching. He didn't appear to be breathing. "Hey, are you okay?" Alex waved his hand in front of Zivix's face. "Nothing." "Mr. Kent, something's wrong with Zivix." The teacher hurried over as students gathered around. "Zivix, can you hear me?" Mr. Kent asked, snapping his fingers near Zivix's ear. As suddenly as it had happened, Zivix unfroze. He blinked, for what seemed like the first time since Alex had met him, and looked around at the concerned faces. "Apologies, I sometimes lock up," when startled. "Medical condition." The class laughed, relieved. "Dude, you looked like a statue," someone called out. Mr. Kent ordered everyone back to their stations, but Alex couldn't stop staring at Zivix. That wasn't a medical condition. People don't just stop moving completely. Even someone paralyzed with fear would breathe, blink, tremble. As they cleaned up the spill, Alex noticed something else strange. Where the blue solution had touched Zivix's skin, there was a faint shimmer, like the air above hot pavement. Alex knew then that Zivix was hiding something, and he was determined to find out what. The next day, Alex couldn't stop thinking about what he'd seen. During history class, he opened his laptop and typed Zivix into the search engine. No results. He tried different spellings. Zivix, Zivic, Zivic. Nothing. For someone who claimed to be a transfer student, Zivix had no digital footprint, no social media accounts, no mentions in any news articles, nothing. Alex watched Zivix carefully during lunch. The strange new student sat alone, arranging his food in perfect geometric patterns, but never actually eating it. He would lift his fork to his mouth, pause, then lower it without taking a bite. "Mind if I join you?" Alex asked, setting his tray down. Zivix looked up. "Your presence is welcome. So where exactly are you from?" Alex asked casually, biting into his apple. "A small island nation. Very remote. You would not recognize its name. Try me. I'm good at geography." Zivix's posture stiffened. "It is called Proxima." Alex frowned. "Like the star. Proxima Centauri." For a second, Zivix seemed to malfunction. His eyes widened, and he sat completely still. "A coincidence," Zivix finally said. "Our founder was an astronomer." After school, Alex made a decision. Instead of heading home, he waited behind the gym and watched Zivix leave the building. The strange boy looked around carefully, then began walking toward the edge of town. Alex followed at a distance, staying hidden behind cars and trees. Zivix's path led to the old Westlake Observatory, abandoned years ago when the university built a newer facility. The observatory's dome was cracked and covered in graffiti. A chain-link fence surrounded it with "No TORESPASING" signs posted every few feet. Zivix slipped through a hole in the fence and disappeared inside. Alex waited 5 minutes, then followed. The old building smelled of dust and mildew. He crept up the spiral staircase to the main observation room. A dim blue light glowed from inside. Alex peeked through the doorway and gasped. Zivix stood in the center of the room, his hands raised above his head. From his fingertips, patterns of light emerged, dancing through the air in complex formations. The light formed symbols unlike any language Alex had ever seen, projecting onto the curved ceiling of the dome. The symbols pulsed and shifted, and then, most incredibly, the ceiling seemed to ripple and respond with different patterns of light. Zivix was communicating with something. Alex leaned forward for a better look, but his foot hit an empty soda can someone had left behind. The can clattered across the floor. Zivix spun around. The light display vanished instantly. His eyes found Alex in the doorway. And then he froze. This time, the freezing was even more complete than in chemistry class. Zivix stood perfectly still, arms still raised, eyes fixed on Alex. He didn't appear to be breathing. The only movement was a faint shimmer around his outline, like heat waves. Alex stepped into the room. "Zivix, I know you can hear me." No response. Zivix remained frozen, a living statue. Alex walked closer, waving his hand in front of Zivix's face. Nothing. He gently poked Zivix's shoulder. The skin felt unusually firm, almost like touching plastic. "I don't know what you are," Alex said quietly, "but you're definitely not from around here. Not just from overseas. You're not even from Earth, are you?" As if triggered by those words, the shimmer around Zivix intensified. His skin seemed to ripple subtly, like water disturbed by a gentle breeze. Alex took a step back, suddenly afraid. What if Zivix was dangerous? What if he'd just exposed himself to some kind of alien threat? But curiosity won over fear. Whatever Zivix was, he'd had plenty of chances to hurt people if that was his intention. "I'm going to wait right here until you unfreeze," Alex said, sitting down on a dusty chair. "And then we're going to talk." Alex checked his watch. 12 minutes had passed since Zivix froze. The sun was starting to set, casting long shadows through the observatory's cracked dome. Suddenly, Zivix's body shuddered. The strange shimmer intensified, then faded completely. He lowered his arms and blinked rapidly. "You followed me," Zivix said, his voice different now, less robotic, more urgent. "Yeah, I did." Alex stood up from the dusty chair. What was that light show? And don't tell me it's another medical condition. Zivix's eyes darted around the room, looking for escape routes. I won't hurt you, Alex said. I just want to know the truth. No one freezes like you do. It's not possible for humans. It is a defense mechanism, Zivix said quietly, activated by perceived threats or exposure. So you're admitting you're not human. Zivix sighed, his first display of a truly human emotion. Your reasoning is correct. I am not from your planet. Alex felt his heart racing. Part of him had suspected it, but hearing the confirmation was different. Where are you from? Really? The fourth planet orbiting the star you call Proxima Centauri. That's over 4 light-years away. How did you get here? We have. Zivix paused, searching for words, methods of travel unfamiliar to your science. Alex ran his hand through his hair, trying to process this information. Why are you here? Is this some kind of invasion? Zivix actually smiled. Another first. No, I am a student. A student. My people are anthropologists, in your terms. We study developing civilizations. I volunteered to gather data on adolescent human social structures. You're studying us. Like we're lab rats? More like cultural exchange. My freezing is not intentional. It is an evolutionary response to danger, like your adrenaline. When threatened, my species becomes temporarily immobile and nearly indestructible. It evolved as protection from predators. Alex circled Zivix, looking him up and down. So the human appearance. A biological adaptation. My natural form would be disturbing to humans. This requires considerable energy to maintain. And a light show. Communication with my research supervisor. I report findings daily. Alex sat back down, feeling dizzy. Why should I believe you? This could all be an elaborate lie. Zivix approached slowly and held out his hand. May I? Cautiously. Alex nodded. Zivix pressed his palm against Alex's. A cool sensation spread up Alex's arm, and suddenly images flooded his mind. A red sky over purple mountains, buildings that seemed to grow rather than being built, creatures with shifting forms moving through crystalline corridors. When Zivix pulled his hand away, Alex gasped. That was your home. A small glimpse. We can share memories through contact. Why show me this? Aren't you worried I'll tell everyone? Who would believe you? Zivix asked. You would be ridiculed. Possibly institutionalized. Alex knew he was right. Without proof, he'd sound crazy. Besides, Zivix continued, my observations suggest you are different from other humans. You notice details others miss. You seek understanding rather than conformity. So what now? Alex asked. I need to complete my research. 3 more Earth months. After that, I return home. And if I tell someone? Zivix's expression grew serious. My people would extract me immediately. The observatory would be dismantled. All evidence erased. Anyone with knowledge of my true nature would have their memories adjusted. A chill ran down Alex's spine. They can do that. Yes, but such intervention is against our ethical principles except in emergencies. Alex considered his options. This was the most incredible discovery in human history, and only he knew about it. I won't tell anyone, he finally said. But in exchange, I want to learn about your world. The real story, not whatever cover story you've been using. Zivix extended his hand again, this time in a human handshake. Agreed. I believe humans call this becoming friends. Alex shook the alien's hand, wondering what he'd just gotten himself into. Over the next few weeks, Alex and Zivix developed a routine. After school, they would meet at the observatory where Zivix could drop his human facade and relax. Alex found it fascinating to watch the subtle changes, how Zivix's eyes would shift to a deep violet color, how his movements became more fluid and less mechanical. So what exactly do you eat? Alex asked one afternoon, munching on chips while Zivix worked on his daily report. Energy, primarily, Zivix replied. My species absorbs radiation and converts it to biological energy. The sun here is less efficient than our own, but sufficient. That explains why you never actually eat lunch. The food props are necessary for maintaining my cover, though I admit I am curious about your pizza. The reactions it generates among students are quite remarkable. Alex laughed. I could bring some tomorrow if you want to try it. My digestive system would not process it correctly, but thank you. As days passed, Alex helped Zivix understand human behaviors that confounded him, why students high-fived in hallways, why certain music was popular, or why some jokes were funny while others weren't. In return, Zivix taught Alex about space, showing him stars and planets from perspectives no human telescope could capture. Through their memory sharing, Alex visited alien worlds and saw forms of life beyond imagination. At school, they became an unlikely pair. Zivix's strange behaviors decreased as Alex coached him on being more human-like. They worked together on assignments, with Alex helping in subjects like history and literature, while Zivix excelled in math and science. But not everyone appreciated the new student. Hey, weirdo. Kyle Patterson, the school's wrestling champion, called out as Alex and Zivix walked past the gym, still doing that robot walk. Alex tensed. Ignore him, he whispered to Zivix. Kyle stepped directly into their path. I'm talking to you, freak. Where'd you say you were from again? Planet loser. I am from overseas, Zivix replied evenly, using the practiced line. Yeah. Let's see if aliens can swim. Kyle shoved Zivix hard toward the edge of the indoor pool where the swim team was practicing. Everything happened in slow motion. Alex lunged forward, trying to grab Zivix's arm, but missed. Zivix teetered at the edge, arms windmilling. His eyes widened in genuine fear. No, Alex shouted. He can't. Splash. Zivix hit the water and immediately froze. His body went completely rigid as he sank like a stone to the bottom of the pool. Without hesitation, Alex dove in. The chlorinated water stung his eyes as he swam downward. Zivix lay motionless on the pool floor, body completely stiff, eyes open but unseeing. A faint shimmer surrounded him, like a protective bubble. Alex grabbed Zivix around the chest and pushed off from the bottom. The alien was surprisingly light underwater, but completely inflexible, like trying to swim with a mannequin. They broke the surface, Alex gasping for air, Zivix still frozen. What's wrong with him? The swim coach asked, helping pull them out. He has a condition, Alex managed between breaths. Gets paralyzed sometimes. I need to get him to the nurse. Kyle stood back, looking worried now. I didn't know he'd freak out like that. Get away from him, Alex snapped, checking that Zivix was still frozen, still in his defensive state. The shimmering was more visible now. Tiny droplets of water hovering slightly above his skin, not quite touching him. With the coach's help, Alex carried the rigid form of his friend to the locker room, away from curious eyes. Zivix, he whispered. It's safe now. You can unfreeze. Slowly, the alien's body relaxed. His eyes blinked, focusing again. Water, Zivix gasped. Dangerous. Contains elements harmful to my cellular structure. Are you okay? Alex asked, genuinely worried. The defensive mechanism protected me, Zivix said. But contact with that much water has damaged my adaptive capabilities. As if to prove his point, Zivix's hand briefly flickered, revealing a glimpse of something beneath, something with iridescent scales instead of skin. We've got a problem, Alex said. Word spread quickly about Zivix's medical episode at the pool. By the next morning, the entire school buzzed with exaggerated stories. Some claimed Zivix had stopped breathing. Others said his skin turned blue. The swim coach had reported the incident to the school nurse, who insisted on seeing Zivix immediately. I cannot see the medical professional, Zivix whispered to Alex in the hallway. The water damage has affected my ability to maintain human appearance. Alex noticed it too. Small glitches kept appearing. Zivix's fingers would momentarily fuse together, or his eyes would flash their natural violet color before returning to brown. Skip the appointment, Alex suggested. Say you're feeling better. Absence will create suspicion. Humans are required to follow medical protocols. Before they could decide, Zivix suddenly froze mid-sentence. Right in the middle of the crowded hallway. Surrounded by students, he became a perfect statue. Zivix. Alex waved his hand in front of his friend's face. Nothing. Two girls stopped to stare. What's wrong with him? One asked. He's practicing. For drama class. Statue poses. Alex improvised. They looked skeptical but moved on. Alex stood guard, blocking Zivix from view as best he could. After 3 minutes, longer than any previous freeze, Zivix finally blinked back to awareness. It's getting worse, he whispered. The freezing is happening randomly now. Can your people help? Can you call them somehow? The communication station at the observatory requires precise control to operate. In this condition, I might send the wrong message. Throughout the day, Zivix froze 4 more times. Each time, Alex covered for him, claiming everything from medical issues to religious meditation. By afternoon, they were both exhausted from the stress. When Nurse Wilson caught them trying to leave school early, she insisted Zivix come to her office. I've been waiting for you all day, young man, she said sternly. Your teachers report you've been having episodes in class. Inside her office, she checked Zivix's pulse and frowned at her findings. Your heart rate is extremely elevated. And your temperature is. She stared at the thermometer. That can't be right. She tried again with a different thermometer, looking increasingly confused. I'm calling your parents. They are overseas, Zivix said quickly. Then I'm calling emergency services. These readings aren't normal. Alex jumped in. It's a rare condition. His regular doctor understands it. Let me take him there instead. Nurse Wilson looked suspicious. I need to document this properly. Wait here while I get the proper forms. As soon as she left, Alex grabbed Zivix's arm. We need to leave. Now. They slipped out through the side door, hurrying across the soccer field toward the street. Zivix froze twice more along the way, forcing Alex to wait anxiously each time. When they reached the observatory, Alex helped Zivix up the stairs. The alien's movements were becoming jerky and uncoordinated. I must attempt contact, Zivix said, his voice fluctuating between his normal tone and something deeper, more resonant. My condition is deteriorating. He raised his hands to start the light communication, but froze again mid-gesture. This time, parts of his human disguise began to visibly flicker. Patches of iridescent scales appear on his neck and hands. When he unfroze, Zivix looked at Alex with fear in his now purple eyes. They are coming for me. Who? Your people? No. Humans. Government specialists. Water is not the only threat I was warned about. Zivix pointed to the small security monitor that showed the road leading to the observatory. A black SUV with tinted windows was approaching, followed by another identical vehicle. How did they find us? Alex asked, panic rising in his throat. Nurse Wilson. Her real name is Agent Wilson. She has been monitoring unusual activity in this region for years. The vehicle stopped outside. 4 people in dark suits emerged, carrying equipment Alex didn't recognize. What do we do now? Alex whispered. Zivix's form flickered again, revealing more of his true appearance. We run. The back door of the observatory led to a dense patch of woods. Alex and Zivix crashed through the underbrush, branches whipping at their faces. Behind them, voices called out commands, and flashlight beams cut through the growing darkness. This way, Alex whispered, pulling Zivix toward a drainage tunnel that ran beneath the old county road. It was their secret shortcut when heading to Alex's house after their observatory meetings. Zivix stumbled, his legs suddenly locking up in another freeze. His skin rippled with blue light, scales fully visible now on his forearms. "Not now," Alex muttered, glancing back at the approaching lights. He crouched beside his friend, trying to make them both smaller targets in the shadows. After an agonizing 30 seconds, Zivix unfroze. "Sorry," he gasped, his voice deeper than usual. "Cannot control it." They squeezed into the drainage tunnel, crawling through 8 inches of cold water. Alex winced at the contact, knowing it would further damage Zivix's disguise. But they had no choice. They emerged on the other side and ran through backyards and side streets until they reached Alex's small house. Alex fumbled with his key, hands shaking from adrenaline and fear. "My mom works nights at the hospital," he explained as they slipped inside. "We'll be safe here for a while." Zivix collapsed onto the living room floor, his human appearance now failing completely. The brown hair melted away, revealing a smooth, scaled head with small ridges. His fingers elongated, webs of translucent membrane appearing between them. "I need to contact my ship," he said, voice now unmistakably alien, a musical quality underneath each word. "Do you have aluminum? Copper wire? A power source?" Alex gathered materials from around the house, aluminum foil from the kitchen, copper wire from an old lamp, and several batteries from remotes and flashlights. Zivix arranged them in a pattern Alex couldn't understand, then placed his webbed hands over the assembly. A soft humming filled the room as the materials began to glow. Zivix closed his eyes, seeming to concentrate deeply. After several minutes, he looked up. "Message sent. Extraction team dispatched. How long until they arrive?" 6 hours, but the government agents will find us before then." Alex peeked through the curtains. The street looked normal, but a black SUV rolled slowly past the house. "They're already looking. How did they track us?" Zivix touched his chest. "A signature. My biology emits trace radiation. Their equipment can detect it." The sound of car doors slamming came from outside. Flashlight beams swept across the front yard. "They found us," Alex whispered. His mind raced through options, each worse than the last. They couldn't run. Zivix could freeze at any moment. They couldn't hide. The agents had technology to track Zivix's signature. "Alex," Zivix's voice was calm now. "There is one defense we can use." "What?" "My freezing ability. It creates a stasis field that blocks all radiation, all signals. But you can't control when it happens." Zivix's alien face formed what might have been a smile. "Normally, no. But in extreme danger, with proper focus, I can extend it. I can freeze us both." Alex's eyes widened. "Both? Is that safe for me?" "Yes. For a limited time. It will make us undetectable. But we must remain absolutely still until my people arrive." A loud knock on the door made them both jump. "Federal agents. Open up." Alex looked at his alien friend. "Do it." Zivix placed his webbed hands on Alex's shoulders. "When I initiate the freeze, you will feel cold. Then nothing. Your consciousness will remain active, but you cannot move. Not even to blink. Trust me." "I trust you," Alex said as the sound of the front door being forced open reached them. Zivix's eyes began to glow blue. The alien's body stiffened, the now familiar shimmering effect spreading from his skin to envelop Alex too. Cold washed over Alex, then a strange weightlessness. His body locked in place, caught in mid-breath. He could still see, still hear, but couldn't move a muscle. The agents burst into the living room, equipment beeping wildly before suddenly going silent. They swept flashlights across the room, passing directly over Alex and Zivix. But they saw nothing. To their eyes, the room was empty. Alex's mind remained alert while his body stayed frozen. He watched through unblinking eyes as the agents searched the house, growing increasingly confused. The signature was strongest here, a female agent said, checking her equipment. Then it just vanished. Could they have some kind of cloaking technology? Another asked. Check every inch. They're here somewhere. The agents moved furniture, looked under beds, even checked inside closets and cabinets. One agent passed so close to Alex that he could have touched her if he could move. But the stasis field Zivix had created rendered them completely invisible. Hours passed in this strange, timeless state. The agents eventually left, placing surveillance cameras before departing. Through the window, Alex could see the night sky darkening, then filling with stars. Just when he thought he couldn't bear the stillness any longer, a faint vibration passed through the room. The surveillance cameras silently deactivated. A soft blue light filtered through the windows, growing stronger. The stasis field around them began to weaken. Alex felt sensation returning to his body, a tingling that spread from his center outward to his fingers and toes. Beside him, Zivix also began to move. They are here, Zivix whispered, his alien features fully visible now, no attempt to disguise his true form. The blue light intensified. The ceiling of the house seemed to become transparent, revealing a massive shape hovering above. It wasn't like the flying saucers in movies, more like a crystalline structure that bent light around it, making it difficult to focus on directly. My extraction team, Zivix explained. They will create a distraction to draw away the human agents, then take me home. Alex felt a sudden heaviness in his chest. So this is goodbye. Zivix tilted his head, a gesture Alex had come to recognize as consideration. It does not have to be. You could come with me. The offer hung in the air between them. Alex thought about it, leaving Earth, seeing the cosmos, experiencing worlds beyond imagination. I can't, he finally said. My mom needs me, and I'm not ready to leave everything behind. Zivix nodded. I understand. Family bonds are important to your species. They are to mine as well. A beam of light connected the hovering craft to the living room floor. Zivix stepped toward it, then paused. He reached into a hidden pocket and removed a small crystal, offering it to Alex. A communication device. It will allow us to exchange messages across the stars. Alex took the crystal, which pulsed warmly in his hand. Will your people come back? That depends on my report. Your world is beautiful but primitive in many ways. Yet individuals like you give me hope for your species. In the distance, sirens wailed as the distraction began, likely strange lights in the sky drawing attention away from Alex's neighborhood. I must go. The window for extraction is brief. Alex stepped forward and did something that surprised both of them. He hugged the alien. After a moment's hesitation, Zivix returned the embrace. Thank you for not dissecting me when you had the chance, Zivix said, with what Alex now recognized as alien humor. Then he stepped into the light and vanished. 6 months passed. The government agents never returned, perhaps convinced that whatever they had detected was gone. Alex kept the crystal hidden, checking it every night before bed. Sometimes it would glow faintly, but no clear messages came through. Until one evening when Alex was studying for finals. The crystal pulsed brightly, projecting symbols into the air that transformed into English text. Diplomatic mission approved. Returning as official ambassador. Your government has been contacted. They wish to appoint a human liaison with experience interacting with my species. I suggested you. Arrival in 3 days at new landing facility. Will you accept? Alex typed his response without hesitation. Yes. 3 days later, Alex stood on the platform at the newly constructed first contact facility, surrounded by government officials and scientists. The sky darkened as a familiar crystalline shape descended through the clouds. As Zivix emerged from his ship, now dressed in formal alien attire, his eyes immediately found Alex in the crowd. For just a moment, the alien ambassador froze, not from fear this time, but from joy. And then both friends stepped forward to begin a new chapter in human history.